Hello, everybody. Boo! I just snuck up on you. How are you? How's things? I hope you're all well. I'm in my new workshop. Yay! Well, it's not my new workshop. It's my old workshop, but it's new again. So, yes, it's okay. The owner's just saying sorry in my ear because she forgot to mute. So I can hear myself all excited and everything. It's very strange. Yes, so I've got a whole new setup in the workshop. There might be a few teething problems with cameras and stuff like that this evening. One second, just got a warning on the computer. I just made sure that that's okay. Yes, so it's all new. I've got still the old cameras, but I've set it all up a bit differently. As you can see, I've got a bit of a green screen behind me and all that, and I'm just going to have a bit of fun and try and make it a little bit more. I know I'm not a professional, but make it a little bit more professional looking than just kind of trying to wing it all the time. So every Sunday I will be doing a proper public live and doing a lot of multi-axis off-center stuff as well, because that's kind of what I'm into. And but if there's anything that any of you would like to see, then give me a shout and I'll try it. Is everything okay, Leona? All live and good and all that? Yes. Excellent. Cool. All right. So we're going to go over to, where will we go? We'll go to this one, I think. Yes. Here we go. And I'm just going to show you what I've got. So I'm back on the big lathe again. I've cleaned it all up and it was pretty manky, but I've got it back up and running again. So we're back and we've got a piece of yew. Surprise, surprise. It's pretty much what I've got at the moment until I go and get some wood from my old workshop and process that. I'll be doing that at the end of this week. This is just over 8 inches long, which is 200 millimeters, and it's about 90 millimeters square, which is 3.5 inches square. Like I say, nice lump of yew. And what we're going to do is we are going to do some stacked barrels. I don't know how many of you saw on social medias, but I did like a stacked barrel thing. Now, the one that was on social media was kind of, it had an emerging whiskey bottle, then barrels stacked on top of that, and then a goblet or wine glass, whiskey glass on top of that barrel. We're not going to do the bottle and the goblet tonight. We're just going to do stacked barrels. I just want to go through that process. Now, I just want to, it gets a little bit complicated. What I've done here is I've marked my centers. Pull this camera over here and show you exactly what I've done. So I have marked my centers as you would normally by doing the X corner to corner, mark the center. And then I've just done a circle of divots in there, numbers 1 to 8. We might not be using them all, but it's just a way of having all the points there that you can maneuver the piece around in between centers as you want to get different angles. I'll explain it as we go along. And I've numbered them just 1 to 8, and they match either end, just so that I've got a reference. So if I'm on number 1 at the headstock and I need to move it, and I remember it's on number 1 and yada yada. Now we've got a little bit of an inclusion on the side here. We will be losing that because we'll be turning this round. I'll put it between centers to start with. If you have any questions through this, please make it very visible by putting capital Q or shout, Leona, I have a question. And Leona will pick up on it and she'll let me know. Now, the reason why you center punch your points from the start is that when you start taking stuff away from this, you're going to be causing big caverns and cuts, and when you put pressure from tailstock to headstock, it bends the piece. So you need all your center marked, center punched and marked, so that your live and drive go into there nice and solid. Let me see. No, wrong one. First, oh God, no, definitely not that one. I'm still getting to remember the cameras, so excuse me. It's number 4 I wanted. All right, so just want to make sure that I'm in shot there. We're going to turn this round, but before I do that, I want to just show you something on the on here. So this is like a quick diagram that I did to give you kind of a perspective of what we're going to be doing. This is what we're parallel axes. So we're going to be going from both sides, keeping it parallel as we turn on this particular one. Now there are other ways of doing this. You can do it this way, where you leave the tailstock. We might do one like this maybe, and I'll show you what it's like. So you leave the tailstock on center, and at the other end you have all your points, and you pick and choose which ones you orientate the headstock, and that gives the barrels different angles. And as you can see, line 2, line 3, line 1, line 4 all match up with 4, 3, 2, 1 barrel, and it shows you the orientation of how you need it on the lathe to cut that round. I've got another one here, and then this one is, again, it's very similar, but what you're doing is you're changing the head and tailstock. So rather than leaving the tailstock in the center and just moving it, the orientation on the headstock, you're leaving it on, you're changing it on both ends. So you're really exaggerating the angles, and you can really twist the barrels and get them to go at different angles. So we might play about with it this evening, just see what kind of angles we've got. If you start twisting the barrels and moving them like that, it gets very hard to get them to sit straight on each other. I'll explain that as we go along. You've got to be very careful with your cuts. But to start with, we're going to start off by cutting our first barrel like this. So we're going to start on number 1 barrel. But to start off with, we are going to just round this off. And if anybody has any questions, Leon, you can just shout who's here, maybe in the ear, just roughly. You know, I'm not going to be saying hello to everyone. I've said hello to everyone. It's just, I just think it's a lot of time saying hello to 40 or 30 or 40 people. So, yes, hello to all the bananas to start with. The bananas saw a demonstration of this setup the other day, so I just use them as guinea pigs to see did this work. So away you go, Diana, sorry. Hi, John, Rob, CP, and Chris. Christine, Michael. Keith, Tim, and Kevin. Wayne and Robert. All right, we're just going to be starting with a roughing gouge, spindle roughing gouge, and we'll get this round. Hi, Blair and Ian. Hi, Andy and Alejandro. Awesome. You're all very welcome. Now, my lathe at the moment needs a bit of a kickstart because it needs a part. Now, this wood's very, very hard. which is ideal for this multi-axis stuff because it holds together a lot better. I know that a lot of people when they're turning multi-axis, especially Barbara, they like to use green wood. I don't have any green wood, so I gotta do it the hard way. Sorry, Leona, I couldn't hear you. Yes, I'll put the diagrams up on Instagram. I will put I will make them available on Google Drive. I'll make them a public file so you can pop in and have a look at them. And if you just want them sent to you, then get in touch with me and I'll send them to you. No problem. You can hear how hard that wood is. Very hard. Need a bit more speed. That's better. Okay. Right. We're getting there anyway. Almost round. Like I say, I'm still... Sorry? I can change the little camera. I can also get rid of it if it's not working very well. It was just a ickle feature that I put on. I'll not mess about with it at the moment. Yeah. Very hard material up at the headstock end. But like I say, we don't have to have it super pretty. It only has to be round-ish because we're going to be cutting into it a lot anyway. Okay, now I'm going to have to move my earpiece because I can't hear you. And I think it's dropped. 1 second. Can you talk to me again? That's better. Okie dokie. Right. So we are round now. Not going to bother cleaning up the sides because I've got my marks on it and I'll turn them away. I'm just going to put this on again and bring my speed right down to 0 or number 1. Can't go to 0 on this. And I'm going to get my parting tool. A lot of the work will be done with the parting tool this evening because it's very universal. You can get tight areas with it. So what we're going to do is we need about ½ an inch either end, a little bit more than ½ an inch either end. We just need to put 2 guide cuts. Not very deep, just about like that. And like that. Did you say that camera was glitchy? What was happening with it? It was jumping, was it? Oh, right, okay. But the other close-up camera, did you say there was a problem with that too? Oh, okay. All right. I will. I'll do that now because if it's annoying people, I'll get rid of it. Like I say, it's going to be. I will get rid of it. There you go. That one. I will get rid of. I'm going to go along the. Or let me see. Get rid of that one. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Excellent. Thanks very much, everyone, for watching. Okay, got rid of that. So I moved the other camera because I thought that's the one that you thought was that you said was glitchy. So I thought, oh no, my movie one is playing up. No, that's yeah, I didn't hear you because at the time my headset was a bit dodgy. So okay, so this is what we've got. We've got our piece turned. And we've got a little crack there. I'm not too worried about it. It doesn't go very deep. So we'll be turning into that. So I've got just 2 reference marks. And now what we're going to do is we're going to leave our tailstock. Leave our tailstock on center with the first one. And I'm going to go to, yes, I can zoom out. I can do anything. There you go. How's that? Ta-da. Right, so yes, I'm going to go I'm going to stay in center with the tailstock on this one, and I'm just going to pick any of the other ones. doesn't matter which one. I'll go to number 1 just because it's the first one, and I'm going to place it on number 1, and then we're going to tighten that down. I'm going to make sure that my tailstock is good and tight on the bed, and I'm going to tighten that down and lock everything in place. I'm going to bring our tool rest up and always give it a turn, and make sure that you're not going to hit anything. And what I do is I turn my tool rest so it's kind of at the same angle of the cut as it comes round. So as it comes round, the piece is parallel with the tool rest. Okay. And that's it. We're just going to start cutting our first barrel. So we're going to go to our first mark here, you know, where I've put my starting line, and we're just going to come inside just slightly, and we're going to start cutting our barrel. And what we're going to do is we're just going to go down with the parting tool until we get to round. And I'll show you what I mean by that in 1 second. You can near enough feel when it gets to round. So we've cut through the air, it's nice and deep here, and we're round here. And now what we've got to do is we've got to determine what size barrels we want to go with. So I'm going to get my caliper, and I'm going to just roughly decide on what size barrels I want. Now what you've got to consider is when you're cutting your barrels is that wherever your center mark is running, from center to center, we're going from the center of the wood here to the center of the headstock. Okay, so our line is running through here like this. If you make your barrel too big, you're going to start going back out into the air here. So you need to try and keep your barrel a decent size. Now you can do different size barrels if you want. I just think I've experimented a little bit. I think if the barrels are all the same size, it looks nicer. So we're going to go with barrels around about that size. I'll give you a measurement. My barrels are around about 45 millimeter in diameter, they're going to be. So now I'm just going to cut along here. I'm going to decide how long my barrels are. Normally the barrels end up about the same length as they are round. So about 45 mil. So I'm just going to mark 45 mil long there, and I'm going to just put a good deep pencil mark there so I can see it when it's spinning. And what we're going to do is we're just going to turn a cylinder all the way along there at 45 mil, which is our caliper width. We'll get rid of all the air first and get it down to where we've gone with the first cut. Hi Indy, how are you? Thank you very much. Thanks for joining. Now you can use your gouge, you can use your roughing gouge, you can, you know, to get this down to where you want it. I just find that with a parting tool, you've got a lot more purchase on the tool rest. It can take the impact a lot better. You can anchor it, and you get on much better with it. Okay, so now we're round all the way along. We're going to bring it down to the size we want for our barrel. And again, it's just rough cutting until we're down to our size. Thanks so much for the super chat, Annie. That is a good day, Zed. You can't beat it. I tell you, it was a lovely day here today on the coast of Ireland. Sun was beating down. I was playing in the shed. The sun shining through the window, and it was heaven. Now we'll probably be going for probably 3 stacked barrels maybe this evening. I might get 4, I don't know. Might be a bit tight for 4. I'm going to go a little bit more. And you can make your barrels as big or as small as you want. Personal preference. Obviously, the size does make a difference to orientation and how you can have them sat in the final piece. It gets a lot easier to see now, the working area, because that's obviously turning parallel now. All your air is over at the headstock. All right, we're nearly at about bit. I might just leave it at that, to be honest with you. It looks about right to me. So you can do this with your basic tools. We're going to leave it about that size, I think. Yeah, that's about the right size. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want it to round off the top and bottom. We want to leave this as square as possible, because as soon as you start cutting at an angle here, it can start making your, I'm just going to do that final cut here actually. It can start affecting the way the barrels look when they're sat on top of each other, and I'll explain as I go along. I know it's a lot to take in. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just start using the parting tool again, and we're going to curve the barrels, the bottom of the barrel and the top of the barrel. We're only getting a rough shape at the moment. You can use your gouge for this as well, but like I say, the parting tool's ideal because you're working straight in. You don't have to turn the handle at all to work in there. You can use it like a little mini skew. So just get a rough barrel shape. It doesn't actually take a lot to get it looking barrel looking. You don't have to kind of do a big bead. It should, barrels are very, very slight curves. There we go. I'm just going to run this over the sharpening system, but you can see there you have a barrel sat in a very wonky piece of wood. I'm just going to sharpen this skew. Bear with me 1 second, folks. Is there any questions, Leona? What's the topic of conversation? Are we on food yet? Weather. Very good. Oh, you can keep the rainy and cold, Zed. Okay, we're sharp again there now. Okay, so you can see we've got the rough barrel shape. So now what I'm going to do is I've got my outside barrel shape. There's just a little bit there that I want to just clean up. It's like that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the roughly the center of my barrel. I'm going to go in a couple of millimeters like this. And then I'm going to walk it left a little bit, right a little bit. And I'm going to go left and right the same amount each time. About there. And about there. And we're just going to make the bands. A little band there. And a little band there. And again, you're following the shape of the barrel as you're cutting this. Taking any fuzzies that appear. Just want to make this, clean this end a bit, make it a bit taller. Noisy, sorry. There we go. Lovely. Just wanted to get the top of my barrel there. We will be cleaning up the very top of that at a later date when we part off the top. But I just want the profile to look right as I move on. Go. And that's kind of our first barrel. Just like that. It just needs a quick sand. We've got some fuzzies there, but they'll sand off. And that's our first barrel. So I'm just going to give it a quick sandy sand. Nothing much for this demonstration, but it does demonstrate how you can sand this. So I make a nice long piece of paper like this, and I fold it in half, and I use the spine at an angle. Keep your hands well away from the spinny sharp bits. Yeah, that's good, Sarah. It's good to push yourself, even if you're a bit unsure. And like I say, most of this multi-axis stuff is between centers, and you don't need chucks, you don't need fancy tools. You can do it with your starter set. It is advanced turning, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it's simple. Obviously you've got a lot of air that you're turning, but you don't need specialist tools, is what I'm saying. No problem, Gav, and thank you very much for watching. So that's just 120. We'll go to We'll go up a couple more grit, or one more grit. I think we'll probably go. We'll go 2 more. I think maybe softwood with multi-axis turning Z. Softer wood, because if you've got really hard wood, when you're cutting into air, it's gonna chip out a lot. It's gonna be very hard on your hands and on your tools. So again, I've made a spine, and then I'm using I'm pushing it down into a cushion to get it in there. The one I did that I showed on social media, I did some pyro work on it. So you've got that choice as well of making the rings on the barrels dark and make pyro in them. All right, we'll go with one more grit, and then we'll call that done. Just for demonstration purposes. There we go, that'll do for that. Hi Joseph and Adam. And did you say someone else? And anybody else that I could have missed. All right, that'll do. It's not super brilliant with the sounding, but I do want to carry on to the next one. Okay, so the next stage is pretty important. So you want your next barrel to be sitting on top of the other barrel. If you come over too far, you're going to cut your barrel, say here, and it's just not going to be matching up on the barrel. So we're going to keep in center line again on the tailstock. That way we're ensuring that we're coming through the center of this barrel. Okay. And we'll go. So I was on number 1. I'm going to go over to number 6. Am I? No, I don't want to go that extreme. I'm going to go to number 7. I know that sounds mad that it's 7 is less extreme, but if you think of how the numbers are, 1 is closer to 7 than it is 6 if you go round. Goodness, that made no sense. Okay, zoomy. Yep. Hi, John. Thank you very much. Yeah, I want to show something a little bit different, maybe. Okay, so I've gone number 7 on the headstock, and I've stayed on the center on the tail. Remember, tighten up, lock everything down. And now what we're going to do is we're going to make a cylinder again. We're going to be cutting into here. So again, my tool rest, I'm going to adjust so that it's parallel with the cutting side of the piece. And what I mean by the cutting side is that obviously when it's over here, you're not cutting anything. As it comes around here, you're cutting into one side of the piece of wood. So what I do is I have that side right close to the tool rest, and then I have my tool rest parallel to that cutting edge. So I know that as I'm coming along, I'm cutting parallel to the cutting area, not to the piece. So if I was to turn the tool rest around like this, a different distance from the piece here than I am here. I'm closer here and further away here. So by turning my tool rest parallel to the workpiece, I know that I'm the same distance away from the piece as it's coming around, if that makes sense. Okay, and he moves it then. Thank you very much, everybody that's joined. All right, so again, what we're going to do is we're not going to go straight on to the other barrel yet. We're going to come over a bit, about an inch, and we're going to cut until we get round. We're going to cut through the air. You can near enough feel when it goes round. It's a much smoother experience and it starts cutting nicer. Okay, let's stop that. We're near enough round. We're just not quite round yet. And the reason why I do this, I mean, everyone probably does it differently. I'm just doing it through the way that I do it. The reason why I get to round and then I take a look, you can then judge where your barrel is going to be. So now I've got a cylinder here that's passing through here, okay? And I'm going to be going down to my 45mm barrel. So what I want to do is I want to make sure I'll put my calipers roughly center of where this barrel is going to be, and I can judge whereabouts it's going to be sitting on top of the other barrel, and it's not, you know, it's not going to be in a ridiculous position. Now we've got quite an acute angle, but we should be able to work it, I'd say. So what I'm going to carry on with that one. So I'm going to sneak up to the top of the other barrel now. A lot of starting and stopping when you're doing multi-axis, because you can't see everything that's going on the way you can if it's parallel. Hi, John, from which guild? Well, that's cool. Thanks very much for joining, and you're very welcome. I have a very good friend that is in Ontario, Rob Summerlin, Woodsley Summercraft, and I've been to Toronto, lovely part of the world. Okay, so again, I'm sneaking up. So now what's happening is I know that I can take away this without hitting my barrel. It's going to be a while before I'm coming anywhere near where the barrel is going to, the first barrel is. So I know I'm safe to take this away. And this is why you stop and start all the time. You want to keep stopping and checking and making sure you're not making the mistakes, because you can do. That's why I'm not going down to my final size either, because I can do a slight adjustment. I can move it at the headstock and then return it round and get it into a position I like. You know, if you went right down to your barrel size straight away, you're restricting how much material you have to play with then. Okay. Now I'm looking at the back here in the shadow, and what you can see is it's a bit strange on the camera. It's not the same as what I'm seeing. I can see when it's coming down to my barrel. I just want to make sure that I can turn safely down to my thing all the way along. Yeah, I can. I'm just going to stop short of the circle I have already, or the cylinder I have already, because that means I'm not cutting into my barrel then. That's why you have a face shield with this as well, because that bit just broke off. All right, so you can see now that I'm pretty much not far off in line with this barrel, and I'm going to start cutting into the top of it. So I'm going to bring my barrel size down, leave this little lip that I've left slightly proud. That is my safety area, and I'm going to bring the rest down to my cylinder size. Get my calipers, see that I'm getting close. Keep away from the wobbly bit. Keep your calipers over at your safety point that you've already cut round. How are we doing for time, Leona? Perfect. Thank you. I'm sorry? Yeah, I would normally hold the calipers at the back, but with this multi-axis stuff, I don't want to lean over. I don't want to lean over that wood. Normally, you would come in at the back with your calipers is right, away from the tool rest. But and you're perfectly right to tell me that, Leona. Thank you. But like I say, with multi-axis stuff, I want to see where my, see what I mean? If it hits that, it flips it. I don't want to be leaning over and be worrying about where my arms are. But again, personal preference and common sense prevails with anything that you do on the lathe. We're almost down to barrel size. I'm going to leave it about there, I think. And I'm going to take a look to see where we are. Okay. Yes, Chris. How terrifying was my first multi-axis turn-in? My first multi-axis turn-in was live, and it was a challenge. I was on a live about 3 or 4 years ago on Eloy Escajado's, I think he's Rockin' Woodworks, live show. He had a live show at the time where he was interviewing people, and the show went on so long because I was talking about the past and all that. There was a few people in the hangout, and a couple of guys challenged me. They said, "Oh, if you're so good, turn a banana," and they said it joking. They thinking that the banana is the most weirdest shape ever. You're never going to be able to turn a banana on a lathe. So I threw a piece of wood on the lathe. I turned the camera around, and I turned a banana live on the show. And that was the first multi-axis turn I did. And I must say, I wasn't one bit. I'm not afraid of. I know that this is safe. I'm in between centers. I'm clamped down tight. I've got everything at distance away. I've got my tools sharp. I've got the right wood. Do you know, I think it comes down to feeling comfortable in your own skin when you're doing stuff like this. You know, don't do anything that you're really not comfortable doing. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to move the camera. But don't be afraid to push boundaries. Put some softwood on and play with that first with multi-axis. That way, if it breaks, it's just going to fall apart. Most of the time with multi-spindle work, with multi-axis work, when it breaks, it falls down on the floor. Like I was doing this piece the other day. It went wrong. It was a fail. I broke it. Stacked donuts. I'm still going to finish it, but it broke. So I was working on this stacked donuts, and it broke and it literally, as it broke, it just flew away like that and went down on the floor behind. That's why it's kind of good to have a gap between your lathe and the wall as well. It won't bounce off the wall and come back at you. It just dropped down on the floor and I was perfectly safe. Now, it gives you a hop, it gives you, you know, don't get me wrong, it makes you jump when it happens, but it was safe. I knew it was safe. Okay, so we can see where that is orientated now on top of the other barrel. We've still got to come down a little bit, I believe. No, we're about the right size. So now what I need to do is I need to sneak up on that barrel. Now, obviously, the top of that barrel is an angle here, and the top of that barrel is at an angle here. So there's a point where I've got to stop where it's not going to look right. Okay, so I've got to start turning my tool and cutting in at the angle of this barrel and not straight in. And again, it's a case of just sneaking up on it and not going too deep. So I'm just going to do a small cut in like this and then see where that's going. Stopping and starting, stopping and starting. Sneak up on it again. But yeah, I've never been, I think if you're scared or afraid, it's like when someone gets behind the wheel of a car and says, oh, I'm awful nervous, I can't do this, I'm scared. Don't do it then, because if you're scared and you're not in control of that vehicle, you're going to hurt someone and yourself. So as you can see, what I'm doing is I'm bringing my tool round slowly so that I'm cutting at the lid angle. Now, obviously, it's going to cut in straight. I can't cut away from me. That's impossible. But I can find the edge of this barrel. The other thing is as well with this, don't be tempted to move your tool rest in. You have to turn in a little bit further over your tool rest than you would normally, because obviously you've got a lot of air spinning there. So now it's just a matter of trying to blend this in best you can. A lot of stopping and starting, I know, but we're getting there, as you can see. I rushed into the first one of these that I did, and it just didn't look right. It just didn't look as if it was sitting on top of the barrel. Okay, so we're good there. That looks quite good. So now I need to mark my 45mm long, or however long this one is. We ended up 50mm on that one, so we'll do the same here. We'll go the long side, and we'll put our pencil mark nice and dark there so I can see it spinning, and we'll make that cylinder the same all the way along. Does this make sense to everybody so far? Is there anything you want me to repeat or go back on? Don't be afraid to ask. Friction fit. Yeah, I mean, Joseph, I am playing with the idea of maybe doing a couple of these and putting a tenon on the end and having the top barrel central to the tenon, and then that way I could hollow the top barrel and put a lid on it. Another thing that I was thinking you could do would be really cool is make a water feature out of a big piece of wood. So you could have the water running from the top barrel down to the next barrel and kind of do it that way, you know? Put a little pump in it. getting this down to round before I do the hard stuff that's hard on the tools and hard on the wrist first, and then the smooth stuff after that. You'll see that the lathe stops every now and then, stalls. The belt is slipping slightly, just from the water damage that there was from the storm damage. The pulleys were in quite a bad way. They had corrosion on them, and I had to clean them. And because I took a slight layer off the pulleys, it's left the belt just, you know, not super loose, but I'm gonna have to get a new belt anyway. But if that's the only thing, I'm happy, because the shed was in a bad way. Alright, so we're getting down to our second barrel size. And as you can see, everything has been parting tool so far. Alright, we're going to stop it, see where we are. Now, as you can see, there's a slight angle here on this barrel. It's like it's not sitting flat, but there's a limit to what you can do with multi-axis. I mean, you can't come in here and cut this straight, this barrel straight, and then cut this barrel straight, unless you're really quick at going in and out with your tool. It's just impossible. But what you can do later on is you can tidy it up a little bit with the Dremel, or with a file, or with whatever you want. I'm gonna, once I've got this barrel done, I'm gonna put it back in the position of the first barrel, and I'm just going to tidy up the top of this one, just here where it's a bit flayed there at the end. But we're going to start rounding this barrel off now. I must put my coffee machine back out here. I'm parched. Okay, that's kind of barrel looking. Cool. And again, same thing, into the center, go down a couple of mil, work my way out to my rings. Trying to keep the barrel shape as you're going in. If you go in straight and just leave it straight, it takes away the look of the barrel. And once you get the principle of this, you can kind of play and start stacking all different things. I've got lots of ideas that I'm going to be doing. And I think it leaves it open for lamps and kind of funky candle holders and all that kind of thing, you know. All right, we'll have a look at that. There we go, one barrel on top of the other. Now, as you can see, because this is at an angle here, you've lost the front edge of the ring that will be on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go a little bit deeper of a cut and bring that round as far as I can. And it's just something that you've got to, you've got to sacrifice that just because of the angle that I've gone. If I hadn't have gone such an acute angle, you wouldn't have had such a steep angle on the bottom of that. But it's just the way it is. Would be a cool beer tap, Hodge. So there you go. That's that. And like I say, you can come in with your Dremel and you can clean that up. You could even come in with a file. I have a rasp down here, I believe. Yeah, just a flat rasp, and you can come in and just flatten that a little bit while it's on the lathe, just to give it an illusion that it's flatter than it actually is. Yeah, there'll be no captive rings on this one, Joseph. There we go. And like I say, you can just blend everything in with a file. I'll just clean the top of that while I'm here as well. There's always a little bit of hand sanding with multi-axis. There's just no avoiding it. There you go. That's clean that off a bit. That's why you sneak up with these when you're turning. You don't just go heavy-handed to start, because you really can chop into it then. If I'd have come in here with, say, and just took it away, I could have took the front edge of this barrel off and it would have been ruined. But at the moment, I know that the back end of that is missing. But again, with the Dremel, you could play with that and you could just blend it in and mess about with it. But it still looks like stacked barrels, so we're not going to worry too much about it. Put the file over here and we're going to go to our third orientation. I'll just sand that. It's not too bad actually. I'll just sand that quickly. And while I'm sanding this, if you have any questions, fire ahead. It doesn't have to be about the multi-axis. You can ask me anything you wish. If there's any projects you would like me to attempt for future lives, then please let me know. I'm willing to try anything. Now I'm back in the shed as well. And I've got the cameras and everything set up. I'm going to start. I couldn't do it in the van because the van was too shaky. The cameras just shook all the time. But I'm going to advertise online lessons, beginner lessons and stuff like that as well now. Virtual lessons, which will be cool. Bacon or chocolate? Bacon every time. I'm not a huge chocolate fan. So bacon with maple syrup. Yeah, that can be done multi-axis with captive rings. You can do anything multi-axis, because once you've cut through the air, you're turning a cylinder again, right? So I could quite easily, if I wanted to, if there was such a thing as a whiskey or beer barrel with a captive ring, I could continue those and make them into captive rings. Thanks, Jeff. Just doing a quick sand on these. I don't want to go into it too much. And we'll go with the final one. We'll see what time we have. We might pop something fun on the third barrel if we have time. I doubt we will. So that'll do for the sanding. It's good enough. So there we go. That's barrel number 2. Next orientation, what we'll do is we'll do a parallel turn. So that means that I'll put, as I promised at the beginning, I'll put both ends off center. Now I might have to just put 2 new marks in. I'm just going to go slightly off center, just working out where my barrel is going to be. If I go 7, 7, that's not going to work. Or is it? No. Do you know what? I think if we just go center, it's going to work. Have a look. Now we'll put it on center. If I turn that on center, there's my caliper. Caliper is always a good way to work out whereabouts you're going to be. Yeah, I think I'll just turn center now for the third one. It will sit nicely on top of that one. So this is going to be nice. But what will be fun is that you'll see these dancing. I do like the multi-axis dance. It's very cool. So I can bring my tool rest in a bit further now, because the actual main piece isn't off center now. And we can start cutting down to size. There you go, you can see the barrels dancing. It's kind of cool. Just going to touch up the parting tool again, so I've got a nice sharp edge. Okay. And again, I won't go right to the beginning. I'll step back a bit and start cutting just to make sure that my calculations are right and I've worked out where this barrel is going to sit. Now stop that, have a look, assess it, make sure we're going to be good. Yeah, I think we're going to be good. I can bring the speed up now. Almost there. Sorry. Yep. There's so many things that you can stack. I've got so many ideas for stacking and different orientations as well. So as you can see now, because we've gone straight there, this has got kind of a twisted look, which is really cool. That's going to work out just right. It's going to be sitting about halfway on this barrel. I think I'm pretty much there where I need to be. Just a tiny little cut there and work size. So now again, start sneaking up on that barrel, being aware that we've got some thin material there that can chip off. Make sure you've got your shield on. Stopping and starting again, making sure that I'm coming into the right place. Doesn't harm to just break off any of these small bits so they don't fly off when it's spinning. And again, take this bit down very gradually, not all the way in one go, because you can, as you can see, I've started cutting into that now, so I'm just at the point now where I'm starting to cut in here now. There we go. That's as far as I want to cut with that one. I have gone just tiny, as you can see there, just a tiny little bit too much. I can fix that when I go doing the rings and that, but you know, that's where you can make the mistake. If I'd have gone gun-ho and just started chopping away, you would have took the top of this barrel off, and then that's the whole look of the whole effect of it ruined. So you know, there are ways around it with the Dremel and kind of playing with it a bit, so you know, I'm not too worried. But that's just where you can make a mistake. If you don't sneak up on it and just keep stopping and starting, you can ruin the look of the piece. Do you know what? I'll just use the because we're straight now. You get very fluffy this stuff. I think we're a bit burly up at the headstock end because it was really tough. Yeah. Pippy you. Pew pew. There we go. So we're down to the right cylinder now, and now we're going to start shaping that one. Then Donkey Kong, I think that was a game from the 80s, was it? I don't know. I was never a gamer. I remember my brother was big into the games and stuff like that. It was actually a mistake. It just happened. I was playing with multi-axis. I was doing some practicing. I've been doing a lot of practicing from Barbara's book, and I turned a piece, and I thought that looks like stacked barrels, and so I turned it into stacked barrels. That's not cutting for some reason there. What's going on there? That's better. Yeah, when my brothers were playing games, I was outside tinkering with cars, and I was never inside, always outside. That needs to be a little bit longer, that one. Are we at the... yeah, we're about right. Okay. A little bump there that I've got to get rid of. Before I do the rings. That's better. Cool. Okay, so we'll go in the center again. Rinse and repeat. I hope that I've shown this evening that it's not anything really to be scared of. It's actually, when you get the hang of it, and when you understand the principles of it, you know, it works out. I won't say easy. Like I say again, it's not a beginner's project, but it's not as scary as maybe you might think. See you, Chris. Thank you very much. Best of luck at work tomorrow. Stay safe. Who does? Rob or Rob? Oh, yeah. Everything I turn is wonky, Rob. I'm a wonky turner. So there you go. That's barrel number 3. Again, we've got a little bit of tidying with the file and a bit of clean up, but you get the idea. It's looking like stacked barrels. Now I'm going to take a little bit more off the top of this one. Down to about there, and then just shave it down. There. Yeah, just want to get in that very corner. Got it. Okay. Sanding again. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up for me, guys, if you're enjoying it. Feel free to hit the thumbs down if you're not. I love feedback on these lives. If I get feedback, then I know what to improve. I know what projects to do. Because it's guesswork. It's guesswork to what you think people want to watch. And I'd like to know the kind of stuff that you'd like to see turned. I hope it's been a better live than it would be in the van normally. I know that the cameras used to shake around a lot on in the van. It used to annoy me, so I can only imagine what it's like for people watching. Mind you, with multi-axis, you don't know whether the camera's jumping or not. Yeah, Adam, but the thing is, if you turn the things you enjoy all the time, it gets boring for others, I think. It can do anyway, I think. I think I can do the things I want to do off of camera, you know. I think doing it on camera is a bit of a challenge too. It kind of takes you out of your takes me out of my comfort zone, and it gives me a challenge to do things. So thanks, Douglas. Teacup and saucers. It's funny you should say that, Sarah, because a young lady whispered that in my ear earlier. Who said that? Robert. Very good, Robert. So a little bit of cleaning up there to do with the file. Just some fuzzies that I can't get with when it's spinning. Nice and gentle, just to blend it all in. And you can spend as much time or as little time on this as you want. At the end of the day, when someone looks at that, they're going to say, oh, well, that's barrels. So it's mission accomplished. But tidying up the little fuzzies and things like that is always a good thing. Just makes it look a little bit neater. But I will be going back on this on pyro with some pyro in the top of these. Now there's the little bit that I don't like there, so I'm going to get that now while I can with the file. That's brilliant, Steve. Yeah, I get bored very easily. Very easily. I couldn't do the same thing all the time. An what? There you go. That's tidied that up. Is that like a cog, Adam? Is it like I suppose it'd be like a crankshaft on a car. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to hit the camera there. So that's just. Who said that? Thanks, Wayne. I'm always happy when I'm in my workshop. So there you go. That's tidied that up a bit. It's straightened both barrels there. It needs sanding. I can do it. I can do the sanding off of the lathe. So now we have our 3 barrels. Now I need to decide what I want as top and bottom. I'm going to have this as the top one. I'm going to have this as the base. So I think what I'll do is, because this is on center, I'm just going to off center the whole piece just by a small bit. Probably by about, do you know what, I'm going to center punch 2 new points. I'll show you in a second. Where do I want to go? Probably about there. One there. And the same. Woody. Woody asks if you can. Yes, you can. You can. The size. So what? 1 second. I'll explain in a second about that. I've just literally just off-centered from the center by about 10 millimeters on both sides there, parallel-ish, and I'm going to put between centers that way, because that way my base. I'm going to turn a tenon now on this, so I can put it in the chuck, and that way my base isn't going to be directly center to this barrel. It'll be off center just slightly. So Woody asks if you can turn a bigger blank rather than just a small spindle. Yes, Woody, you can. The size of the piece depends on the angles you get. So obviously, if it's a thinner spindle, you're very restricted on how much you can move it left and right on the off axes. If it's a wider piece of wood, you can really put it off axes and you can get more dramatic cuts. But if it's a wide piece of wood and longer, then those dramatic cuts get less dramatic, because of the longer the piece gets, the less off-centered it's going to be, if that makes sense. So the size of the wood or really determines what kind of off-axis stuff you can do. Hope that made sense. I've got this log here. This is going to be a video. Oh, I got a big... Good night, Ruben. Thank you. I got a big log here. Oh, that's probably not going to show up. But anyway, big log here, big lump of a piece of sycamore, I believe it is. And I'm going to do a big multi-axis, but that will be a video. That will be a video. Okay, so we're off center just slightly, and now I'm going to put a tenon on this end so that I can put it into the chuck and clean off the top down to as far as I can anyway. Right, tailstock, stop my banjo, it's not tight. Oh, there we go. Okie dokie. Come back a little bit. Right. Now this is the really hard piece of wood up this end. Very knotty. Now again, I'm just turning down to round up this end. The size of my tenon. I'm putting a tenon up this end because I can clean off the very top a lot easier with the tenon rather than fighting with the tailstock. My camera's flipped. Oh, is it? Ooh, I can fix that. I didn't realise that. There you go. Is that better? Now, what? No, didn't get the bearings yet for the other lathe. It'll be a job that I'm not gonna, I won't rush. I'll get it fixed. Don't need it at the moment with this one. So. Steve, no, it's not always best to use a parting tool. As I said earlier, though, with this, you can use a gouge and sharpen it to a fine point. You can use a skew. The only reason why I use the parting tool for this particular project is because you're going straight in. You're cutting straight in, and you're not. Whereas if you're using a gouge, obviously you've got to ride the bevel when you're cutting for it to cut, and you're turning the handle sideways, which means that the shaft of your tool is going to be in the firing line of the off-axis stuff that's spinning round. So if you can come directly in, then I think it just makes more sense to me. You can use whatever tools you're comfortable with. I'm using a chop that I'm not used to, so the tenon's a different size to what I'm used to. It's probably going to be a little bit big, that, but it will do. Okay. That will do. All right, so while it's still in this position, that is going to be my center point. I'm going to take away a lot of this spare wood while it's between centers and not in the chop, because it's got tailstock support. It's just for the kind of final cleanup that the tenon's for, and then for finishing off the very bottom. So I'm going to take away a lot of this rough. Now I'll use a gouge. Doopy doopy doo 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 doo. Any questions while I'm cleaning this bit off? I must have explained everything well then. No, it was only that camera that was backwards, and I remember actually making it backwards, messing about with it, and I forgot to put it back. We'll see how this works out, and I might be able to put like a little off-center whiskey glass on the top. Make sure that I'm not cutting into my barrel. Ooh, that was so close. Almost did. Hi Brian and Di and Andrew. Di, thank you so much for all the history that you went into with my tools. Di actually found the company that made these tools. I have a set of vintage tools, and Di tracked down where they were made. And he thinks he also he found a picture of some staircase spindles and things in an old manor house where the guy used to work that owned these tools. And there's a good possibility, I mean, it's not 100%, there's a good possibility that all the spindles and everything on that staircase in the house were turned with these tools. It's so cool. Thanks for that, Di. That was flipping brilliant to see. I love that stuff. Okay. Now I just want to determine how small I can go. That would be awesome if you could, Di. Yeah, no, all this wood's chipped out, so that's not going to work anyway, even if I turn it away, I don't think. I was going to put a little, let's see what it looks like. I was going to put a little glass on top, but we'll see. I think it's all chipping out. Yeah. No, we'll forget that idea. Yeah, maybe we'll get it. No, we might get a little glass. Right. Just want to make sure that I'm not going to, yeah, I've got to be very careful how much of this I can take off. This is where it can confuse you, folks. You can completely ruin it. The rest of that will have to be broken off and filed off like that. Get the rest of that with the file. But I think once I put this in the chuck, I should be able to turn a wee little whiskey glass on the top of there. So that's what we'll do now. Put it in the chuck. We're probably way past the time now, are we, Leona? All right. Oh, we're in the 2 hours still. That's surprising. Where's me? Douglas, any wood you can do pretty much off-center turning with any wood. Obviously, it's soft wood like pine, spruce, and that. This was a practice piece that I did with a piece of old pine. Obviously, it flakes and breaks away, and then when you're between center, it flexes. So you've got to be careful with it flexing. A good strong wood like this yew is probably better. I'm trying to find my knockout bar. It's gone a walkabouts. Hi, Donna. How are you? I'll have to use my makeshift knockout bar. Well, as long as you remember 6 of them, Zed, that's a win. Put the chuck on here now. Go. It is to rest for a second. Everything is still a little bit stiff on this lathe. It just needs to loosen off a little bit. What's going on there then? Oh, I think I've made my. That's all right. We'll do it the old school way. Yeah, my lathe is all still a little bit stiff from the rust and stuff that was in it. I had to sandblast it and clean it and all that jazz. Yeah, I'm not used to this chuck. I could have done a better tenon on that, but I think this will do for what we're doing with it. Oh dear. I don't know if that's got that straight at all. What's going on with that? I just didn't make it small enough, I don't think. Weird chuck. Oh well, it'll do for what I need to do, I think. I don't think I'm on my centre line here, am I? No, that's what the problem was. I was on the wrong hole with my live centre. Lol. Not happy with that chuck. I'm going to I'll put the other chuck on, the one I'm used to. I got to learn still with that chuck the right tenon. The other one will do for now. Still needs a little bit of work, but it will do. It will do for this. Sorry about this, folks. It'll all work out. Butterfingers. That's better. It actually sits in there much better. See, that's because I'm used to this chuck. But this one really did get a beating in the storm. Damage. Okay, sorry about that, folks. That's a stupid hour over now. I'll use a small rest. Get in there better. Everyone's gone very quiet. They're like, here we go. All right, see how that turns. Oh yeah, that's scary. Cool. Just how I like it. Okay. So let's see if we can make a little whiskey glass on the very top of this. Whiskey glasses are pretty straightforward square glasses anyway, aren't they? Well, not square, but they're just straight. Too high. Yeah, be a little glass. Just for a bit of fun. I might even, when we're done, I might even just chop it off with the bandsaw or whatever, but just to show you the fun you can have. It's a long time since I had a whiskey. Whiskey doesn't suit me. Okay. That'll do for a whiskey glass. Tourist is just a bit too high and a bit too close. Is a whiskey glass wider at the top? Does it go down at a taper? I thought they were like just like a round, quite a heavy round glass, no? The emoji one. All right, I'll put a little bit of shape into it, just a little bit. I don't want it looking like a little mini pint glass, though, you know. Okay. Wow, that's tricky to hollow out. That's what I'm just about to get. You read my mind. It's only because it's my go-to tool. It's a bit small for the Hope Hollower. Go away, tailstock. Okay, okay. That's it. Thanks for that. Just as I'm going into the tiny little glass hollow in it, the owner says, "That sycamore log looks like a smiley face." And I turn around and look at it and completely forget that I've got a skew in the end of a little tiny glass. Squirrel. Oh dear. Okie dokie, let's have a look at that. I almost made the stupid mistake of blowing with my mask on. Yeah, that's lovely. Perfect. Right, as I said, this bit of the barrels needs taking off with the file. Just do it quickly, and then we'll finish off the bottom, and then we'll call it done. Still some, obviously there's hand sanding to do. Ooh, you messed up me. Nearly broke my glass off. With multi-axis, there is always a little bit of cleaning up. As I said, you can never get exact. I mean, you know, unless you're doing the freestyle stuff, if you're trying to be accurate with something like this, you'll never get it 100%. You've always kind of got to go back in with a Dremel or a file or something to finish it off. I'll just get this down to where it needs to be, and I can hand sand it again tomorrow then. But at least it will give you the idea of concept. Go. Now I can file that right off again, run the bandsaw in it and then file it and clean it all off, but just to get it smooth for now. And then we'll go back over this end and we'll clean up the bottom, make a bit of a base. There we go. Always good to check. That would have made absolute bits of it coming around there. Finish off the base and we'll call it done. Thanks, Donna. I look forward to seeing yours. Okay. Right, let's finish the base and call it done. Again, I need to find out how far I can go with this side. Because we are off center to the bottom barrel. Find my mark and then work my way backwards. Oops. Yeah. Cool. And so I'm just going to take this whole edge off here. And round it off. Yeah, a bit more. I might just come down a little bit of a bead. And again, the base is down to personal preference. You can do it any angle you want. I might even put it off axis to clean the back end here. I'm just going to finish this front cut. Tear out because it's kind of it's like a weird grainy bit there. What did you call it? Hippie. Yeah. It could be, I'm just looking at it, it could be a branch. Yeah, it is. It's where a branch came out of it. That cleaned it a bit better there now. Okay, so that's that. It's kind of cleaned up that front area. So what I'm going to just do quickly now is I'm going to put it on the wibble wobble in the chuck and pull it this way just slightly. I want to get to this front edge, so like that. Now I want to make sure that I'm in the chuck a little bit, at least at the top. Don't want any part of it not being held. Okay, we'll see how that holds. That's the good thing about the multi-axis and off-centered stuff. You can really mess about with it and play with shape and design, and you know, it's okay. Is that gonna clean that now? Yeah, it should do. Again, I'll just do a little cut, see where I am, and then make sure that I'm not gonna mess up my barrels. This is a 40 degree grind on this one. Fingernail grind. Alright, now come into here and match up my cuts, and hopefully that should be that. Good enough for a demo anyway. Yeah, that's cool. I like the off-center cuts that I've got here. You can see kind of a swizzle there that'll clean up nice with a bit of sandpaper, and then it drops out here. And when I part it off straight, it will sit so that this bottom one is sitting straight and the rest are on the wibbly wobbly. So that's what we'll do. We'll just part it off now, and we'll call it done. Thanks, Rob. All right, so now we're going to part it off about there. Yeah. And like I say, the rest of it can be hand sanded, and then you can oil it, or you can, I might do a little bit of pyro on it as well. I'm cutting right into that branch that I was talking about, so that's why it's hard. Now, when you've got a piece like this spinning on the lathe, there's a lot of different forces on it. So you wouldn't go down as small with the nub as you would normally with a straight cut piece, because the forces can just break it off. Just putting a bit of an undercut on this. And then we'll finish the rest of the saw, which I should have over here. Yes. This saw was also a victim of floods. I thought I'd sharpened a bit, but oh yeah, there we go. Needs the nubbity nub just sanding off the bottom, but there you go. I'll clean up and sand the frayed bits here, but what I did was I put like a bit of a swirled effect coming from the barrel kind of away, and it just makes the base look a little bit nicer. And then that's your barrels. They just sit like that with the little whiskey glass on top. Whiskey glass is hollowed, and when that's all sanded up and finished sanded, like I say, I might just run that on the bandsaw and just neaten up the top of that top one. But other than that, it's a nice skill builder and a nice bit of fun. PM me, Douglas, and we'll chat about that. Oh, wrong camera. I just, oop, there we go. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, everyone. You're all very kind. What camera is it? This one? Yes, that's the one. That's it, folks. That's me. Oh, I'm all dusty and I've gone blurry. Come on, focus. Ah, there we go. So that's it, guys. That's my first live back in the shed. It's been absolutely brilliant. I love being in here. I'm in my element here. Something a little bit different. I'd love to see if you give it a try. If you do give it a try, tag me on Facebook or Instagram, or wherever you share it. And I'd love to see your side of it, your view on that project. If you've got any questions, PM me and ask, and I'll be more than willing to let you know any information that I know anyway. And I'll put those drawings up. I'll put a link in the description below to the Google file, and you'll be able to look back on those on orientation and how to set it on the lathe. But to be honest with you, get yourself a piece of rubbish wood, put it between centers, and start playing with it and get the feel of what the tool feels like cutting the off-center stuff. As long as it's fixed between centers and it's good and strong, and you've got enough surface area for your head and tailstock, don't go right on the very edge, because where it can break out, because when you're cutting into air, you're putting a lot of pressure on the wood. So if you go bang and it hits, it's going to tear it out of the head and tailstock. So make sure you've got enough material around your live and drive centers to hold it. Other than that, just boom, off you go, work away and have good fun. That's it, folks. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leona, for being my earworm. I shall see you all again next Sunday for public live, and bananas, I will let you know when I'm doing the next members live. We'll do a bit of a fun project or something. That's it. Until then, thank you very much. I'll see you again next time. Bye. I'm going to use my little doodah to go over here and thingamajig. I should have worked on this one. Ah, that's it. End live. All right, bye.